The UN warns the war in Iran could lead to a global food shortage. Trump's counterterrorism chief quits, saying the president was deceived by Israel, and Iran confirms the assassination of its national security chief, putting hopes for diplomacy further out of reach. Here's a question that could define the outcome of this war. Can the Islamic Republic survive without its leaders? Israeli airstrikes on March 17 killed the head of the National Security Council, Ali Larijani, and the commander of Iran's internal besieged militia, Gholamreza Soleimani, alongside a number of other military personnel. This adds to the growing list of Iran's leaders who've now been killed, starting of course with Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who's now been replaced by his son Mujtaba Khamenei, but also the defense minister, the head of the National Defense Council, the head of the IRGC, and the chief of staff of Iran's armed forces. While Israel justifies the killing of military personnel as strategic wartime targets, taking out Larijani could signal something else: that Israel is trying to thwart a negotiated end to the war. Larijani was viewed as the most powerful figure in Iran after the supreme leader, holding positions in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and as a former parliamentary speaker. He was also a key negotiator in the 2015 nuclear peace talks with the US, and one of the few people who wielded influence across the political, religious, and military institutions in the country. But in January, the Trump administration sanctioned him, accusing him of masterminding a brutal crackdown on anti-government protesters, which led to the deaths of thousands. Following the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, it became unclear whether Iran's government and the IRGC were following the same playbook, or if the IRGC was acting independently in going after its Gulf neighbors. And Larijani, who sat on the Transitional Leadership Council, could have been someone to negotiate with the US as well as Gulf leaders. But by taking him out, Israel seems to be sending a clear message that the only outcome it will accept is the collapse of the Islamic Republic. But is that even possible?
I do not know why the Americans and the Israelis still have not understood this point. The presence or absence of a single individual does not affect this structure.
The US counterterrorism chief Joe Kent has quit in protest of Trump's decision to go to war with Iran. In a letter posted to social media, the former Iraq war veteran said that high-ranking Israeli officials and members of the American media had convinced the US president that Iran was a threat. But he says that was a lie.
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security.
Meanwhile, the United Nations is warning millions of people will face acute hunger if the Strait of Hormuz isn't reopened. The UN's World Food Program estimates if the conflict doesn't end by the middle of the year and oil prices remain above $100 a barrel, the rise in food prices would push 45 million people into food insecurity. Stay with us on Al Jazeera as we continue to update you on what you need to know about the war in Iran.